Garrett and Karl show, live on location. We're here with the mayor, Lyn Hall, finally, I think.
In the nicest office in the city.
You got a great...
Wow. Hey, like I said when you guys came in, this is the best office in Prince George, and what a view. You know, look at what you're looking out into, the cut banks, the river, downtown, the whole works. It's great.
Yeah, beautiful view. We wanted to start with talking a little bit about Prince George's 100th anniversary and a little bit about the Canada Winter Games and how that had an impact on the city.
I thought you were going to say we were going to talk a little bit about hockey.
Oh, we can get to that.
Sure. Well, the celebration, look, in 2015 you couldn't have picked a better year. I mean, it was a stellar year for Prince George with the 2015 Canada Winter Games and then the 100th anniversary. So those two combined were just absolutely made it a great year. And the 100th anniversary really started, and there was an event almost every day throughout 2015. It was great. Councillor Murray Krause was involved as the chair of the 100th committee and did a great job. The committee, volunteers, everybody stepped to the plate, and we had a lot of fun. Lots going on. A time capsule was opened and a time capsule buried. So the one time capsule that we buried isn't going to be open for 100 years, so there's not going to be many of us around to see what's in that one.
So this is your first full year as mayor. How do you feel that went for you?
I think it was a great year, and as a matter of fact, yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of this council being sworn in, so really a year ago, and good timing you guys, a year ago today was officially my first day on the job.
Wow.
So I think it's been a great year. We've been busy. Council has really come together as a great group, and we've had lots of stuff to go through. And you know, everything from, as you mentioned, the 2015 games, 100th celebration, but real you know, lots of stuff from a business perspective going on in the community. Lots of potential development. So we think we've had a pretty good year.
Lots of growth within the city itself. I know it was the other mayor's campaign when he was running to bring 100,000 people to Prince George. Do you see that happening?
Well, during the campaign we had, you know, I had said if we can meet the national average for growth within the next, you know, the national average on a yearly basis, I'd be pretty happy. And that national average is, I think, you know, is not that high. I don't know what we would be at today. We're probably in the high 70s, I would think, 75, 78 to 78,000, somewhere in there, I would think. So we're not going to get a firm number on that until they do a Canada-wide census. Yeah, and I'm not sure when that'll take place, but I think we've seen, you know, we've seen some growth in business. We're going to see some growth in industry next year. I think the table is set. People are just kind of waiting to see what happens with the LNG projects and mining and the oil and gas exploration in the northeast.
So one of the hot topics recently is just bringing Syrian refugees into Canada and I guess into Prince George as well.
Yeah, so there's organizations in the community that are looking at bringing in Syrian refugees, and you know, there's a couple of church groups. You know, and a couple nonprofit organizations, Immigrant Multicultural Services Society, they are taking a bit of a lead in this, so they would be the first contact. And I know they're having a meeting here in our building right now to talk about what it looks like once the refugees start to choose Prince George or are assigned to Prince George. But there's still a lot of questions that they and everybody else in the community are trying to get answers to. So,
Heading back to the Canada Winter Games, you know, you were a patron of the arts. You wanted to leave the stage up and have performances all year. How important is it that we have places like Dreamland and all these art studios opening up and the resurgence of the arts in the town?
Well, I think it's important. I mean, that's part of this community. You take a look at what goes on in those venues that you talked about, but also take a look at, you know, what goes on in Exploration Place, Two Rivers Art Gallery. During the 2015 games and everything that took place in the plaza, from multiple types of performances, not just musical performances, but theater performances, and it was unbelievable. Two Rivers Gallery had thousands and thousands of people go through that venue, and they were absolutely took the opportunity to introduce it again to the community, and people realize what goes on in there. As with Exploration Place and our pavilions too, like the Tenay had a pavilion in downtown Prince George that was non-stop. People were visiting it all the time.
Yeah, always
And,
going.
oh, and they had great entertainment. They showed the history of the Lake Tenay, and they really took advantage of it. So it really has opened up the doors. And not only that, but we had a live theater performance in front of City Hall. I made my cameo appearance, performed a wedding ceremony. I'd never been in a play in my life, but it just goes to show what we can do out in front of City Hall as well. So it was Jack Greenhouse and his wife and the crew that put this play together, and it was fantastic. A great turnout. You show up with your lawn chair and relax and watch a great play. And who would have thought? So it's things like that that have really taken off.
Spontaneous acts of the arts.
Yeah. So the games for us, as brought thousands of people to Prince George, and when you talk about growth of Prince George, that's going to be one of the key pieces because of the fact that we're known nationally now. You get put on the stage immediately when you are fortunate enough to get a national games like that.
Yeah.
And so that's going to go a long ways to really promote the city in all aspects of it. So it's that was an exciting opportunity, not just for the city to host it, but for what it meant afterwards. Just to try, and we're trying to keep that momentum going.
Just the word of mouth and just the national spotlight we got from everything. The opening ceremonies being broadcast on TSN, and I didn't even see any Olympic events or any kind of games when I was here. I only saw all the music that came by.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, you couldn't buy the exposure.
No.
You just couldn't. The long and the short of it is that for a city of this size to go out and try to financially put together a package that gave you that kind of coverage, you just couldn't do it. So it was it was a great event, and we're looking forward to things next year as well. We know that we're going to have more entertainment, more things going on out in front of City Hall, but also in the plaza. So we're looking at not the type of stage you saw during the games, because that was pretty elaborate.
Yes.
But something that's just a little bit more permanent, though we can move it around if we had to. So permanent, but has some portability to it, and we can shuffle it here and there in the community if we want. So that's what we're looking at for folks to be able to use.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you looking to bring in musical acts or just showcase Prince George bands?
No, I think a little bit of both. I think what we need to do to really get it rolling is to showcase the musicians and acts that are here in Prince George, and then if we can, we'll go outside to bring acts in, but it depends how expensive it is. CN Center does a lot of that with Glenn Mickelson. They bring in a tremendous amount of acts there, so perhaps the smaller shows that they want to do something outside, that's a great venue.
Yeah, especially in the summertime, outdoor venues are the best.
Yeah. And we've got an events coordinator now that will take a look at all of those kinds of opportunities for us, and so we have one contact person that will go out and try to assist organizations that want to bring various tournaments to the city, conventions, musical events, theater events, those kinds of things. So you can go to that person
and it should come a little easier now that Prince George has been on the spotlight, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Hand in hand. In the short term or long term, where do you see Prince George move forward economically?
Well, that's so two things. One, from an economic perspective, and also a development perspective. And I think those two things are tied. And we are really, I think, on the cusp of some pretty big things happening in Prince George. But we're also waiting to see and hear announcements that are made around the LNG projects out west. And as I said earlier, what's happening with oil and gas and mining. So we're a hub city. You can't go any direction without going through Prince George when you're headed to the north. And it's really that geographical location that we have to take advantage of. And we've got a lot of industry here in Prince George that do work and can provide work to all of the construction that's going to take place in the north. So I think we've positioned ourselves pretty well, and I think next year will be a real big year. I think there'll be some announcements, and we'll have industry here in Prince George that can take advantage of that. You take a look outside my window here, the CN Yards, for example, and their intermodal and their container transportation corridor. They're non-stop.
Bustling.
It's just, and it's a little known fact in Prince George that it's one of the busiest locations for container shipment around, and they ship back out to Prince Rupert, but out into Winnipeg, down into the southern part of the States. So it's a pretty important piece for us, CN Rail.
Having that port in Prince Rupert is a big help for that too as well.
Yeah.
Awesome, thanks, Lyn.
You're welcome. It was good to have you guys in my office.
Yeah.
Welcome anytime.
Feel glistened with office mayor royalty.
So
here.
next, you know what? Next time when you're in, we'll talk about hockey and talk about
Yeah, I guess we do
soccer.
have 2 major teams here.
Big
in Prince
soccer
George.
guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about soccer. And,
Oh yeah, Premier League? Or?
yes, but you know, 2 more local. I had my girls playing on the UNBC Timberwolves.
Oh really? Oh, yeah.
So and I you know, of course spent many years with the Prince George Youth Soccer Association as a coach and helper, and you know, sort of a doer of all things that are connected to soccer when it comes to, you know, packing equipment and moving soccer balls. And
Did you ever play when you were?
you know, I played a little bit in high school, but not a lot. It wasn't, you know, I'm showing my age now, I guess, but it wasn't a big sport in my community where I grew up. But I did play a little bit as I got older. But just love the game. I love sports.
Yeah.
What do you think of our sports director here at CKPG News?
Oh,
It's Rich Abney.
Yeah, Rich. So Rich and I ran into each other at elementary school where they were doing a physical fitness day, and I couldn't participate, but Rich has now challenged me to participate next year, and he did. He did a pretty good job. He was, I think, hurting a little bit afterwards. You know, he does a great job with covering sports in this city.
His mantra is just like 100% local, which is great.
Yeah, and you see him everywhere. You know, I do a lot of things on the weekends with different organizations, and wherever I go, if it's sports orientated, there's Rich. He's covering it and as I said, does a good job. Really highlights every sport in the community. And he draws out and shows, you know, the individual athletes that are excelling and those that are, you know, just having a good time. So yeah, he does a great job. This is gonna go to his head now.
Yeah.
He sees, oh yeah.
You know, in the news, whenever they interview you, they don't put your name key up because they just assume that everybody knows you. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Is that right?
It's only you and Trudeau now and Obama.
Oh,
Those are the
wow.
3 people that would key.
Oh wow.
What a parallel. No, something's coming after that. He's gonna want something for saying that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it was funny because my first name is Lyn. Quite often it gets misspelled or something, and you know, it's not a big deal. But I was at a function quite a while ago. Well, shortly after I got in, I guess, as mayor, and I was introduced as her worship, and so I got quite a chuckle out of that.
And everybody was used to sharing.
Well, it's that
right?
first name, you know, it can be either a guy or a girl, so that's what happens.
Yeah, a little confusion sometimes.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Perfect. Thanks again, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks for showing up, you guys. Come back again.
Will do.
We'll do.
Okay.
Not too long.
All right. Thank you.